Hello, hi, welcome back everybody to the Daily Cooking Show, to the Daily Cooking Stream. I hope you're all having a beautiful Wednesday. If you're watching this live, it is the start of a new week for us. It is Wednesday, August 14th. It is 5 p.m. EDT, and it is lovely to have all of you. And I see that we have all of my little sous chefs in the chat at the moment. So hello to Dill, welcome back. Hello to Shy Chica, hello to Meek, hello to Trash Can Cat Mom, hello to Serena Chess, hello to Dosky, hello to Shy Chica, hello to Koi. What is EDT? Well, I believe it has something to do with time zones and daylight savings. So you have EST and EDT, and we're in EDT right now. Count JP, welcome on in. It has been a while. It's lovely to see you again. Eastern Daylight Time. That's right, Serena, you got it. Eastern Daramgar Time. That is what EDT stands for. I would never eat the pepper anyways. That's okay, Koi. This dish is going to be a really exciting one. I'm really excited about being able to talk about this one today. Everybody, we're going to be making a very staple Turkish dish today. If I'm pronouncing it correctly, I believe it's Mercimek köftesi, something along those lines. Essentially, these are little lentil meatballs. But calling it a meatball, I feel like would do it a bit of an injustice because it does not actually contain any meat whatsoever. It is purely like a warm lentil ball that sometimes gets served as an appetizer. But in my case today, it's going to be the main event. It's going to be the only thing that we're really doing. So what are lentils? So Koi, lentils are from the same family as beans. These are called pulses. Or I guess like some would also classify this as legumes, but technically they're pulses. And with pulses, specifically with lentils, you have two kinds. You have skin on and skin off. The skin off kinds are red and yellow lentils, and the skin on kinds are green, brown, and black lentils. And so they have a lot of protein. They're really delicious. They're really good for you. And it is an ingredient that I wanted more excuses to be able to feature. I feel like with lentils, I kind of got pigeonholed into only doing a lentil soup, and I've only done a couple of curries with the lentils. But I would like to really explore all the different things that it can do for me, and thus we're doing the lentil meatballs today. We're doing the Mercimek köftesi. And so let's go ahead and talk about some other ingredients. Everybody, today we're starting off with some red lentils. Now, once again, you can substitute red lentils and yellow lentils interchangeably, but you cannot substitute green, black, and brown lentils because there's two kinds of lentils. There's skin on and skin off. Red lentils and yellow lentils are green, black, and brown lentils that have had the skin peeled off of them. Okay, and as a result, they get super soft super quickly. So, red lentils or yellow lentils. Lentil burgers, Koi, plenty of people do that, I'm sure. So that's what we have here. I have about roughly 175 grams of lentils that I measured out beforehand. Okay, and that's all ready to go and waiting for us today to use. So we'll have to sort it, we'll have to clean it up a little bit, and I want to start moving in a direction where not all of my protein intake comes from animal products. I love meat, I love cheese, I love animal products for the life of me, but I would like to have a little bit less meat in my diet. Straight up, meat is expensive. Meat is expensive, and so I want to look for the other places that I can get a regular intake of protein, and lentils are an amazing way to do so, my friends. So, 175 grams of lentils or so, red or yellow lentils. Next, for these meatballs, we're going to need some bulgur wheat. This is fine bulgur. All that bulgur is cracked and dried, and I believe sometimes also pre-cooked, like wheat granules, right, little grains of wheat. So, I have about 80 grams of this bulgur wheat so far. And this is going to be a super quick cooking process. And what this basically is it's almost like the binding component. It's almost like the binding agent of these Mercimek köftesi, right? These will soak up a lot of the moisture. They will help to give it a little bit of structure so that it's not completely falling apart because the lentils have a tendency to become mushy. So, fine bulgur wheat. You don't want any of the coarse bulgur wheat. Everybody, once again, clarifying fine bulgur wheat if you can find it. Okay, excellent. Let's set that down behind me. Next, we need these two ingredients for today. We have a little bit of red hot pepper paste, as well as some tomato paste. This isn't the exact traditional kind that would be used in Turkish cooking, but in general, my friends, red chilies, green chilies, they can all be somewhat interchangeable with each other. And so this is going to get cooked down alongside the tomato paste with some onions, and that's going to get mixed into the final meatball as well. Okay, setting that down behind me. Now, the main inspiration for today, my friends, is an ingredient that you don't ever actually see featured in Turkish cuisine. I have here a bunch of beautiful aromatic fresh basil. Normally, the dishes that we're doing today, they typically use just parsley and mint. Well, guess what? I had some basil and I wanted to be able to use it up. Is this the most traditional Mercimek köftesi? No, but it is first and foremost using the things that we have at home. So I have some dill and I have some fresh basil, and that will go into all the different components for today. And last but not least, my friends, let's go ahead and talk about some of our produce. Uncharacteristically, I, Daramgar, have some lettuce. Normally, as you may know me, I'm a big lettuce hater. I don't love lettuces, but this is my first time making a Mercimek köftesi, and as a result, I want to serve it in the traditional way, which is over some lettuce leaves, and then we can go ahead and pour some of the sauces onto it. Jay, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. So you just want to get any kind of lettuce that you would like for this, a buttery lettuce or romaine lettuce in my case. And everybody, please, for the love of God, don't just rinse your lettuce under some running water. I need to hear yes, chef, from everybody watching. You want to soak your lettuce. Lettuces and herbs especially, they're filled with bugs and they're filled with sand and dirt. You have to soak it. You have to do 3, 4, 5 passes sometimes. And then we dry it off in a salad spinner. You don't want soaking wet leaves. Dry them off with a towel, dry them off with a salad spinner. But guys, you need to absolutely soak and wash your lettuce. Too many times I see people not actually give it the respect it deserves. Putting it down behind me, and now my friends, look at this lovely amalgamation of produce that we have for you today. We have a cucumber that's going to go into my tzatziki. We have some scallions as well. The scallions are going to go into the green sauce as well as into the meatballs. We have some onion, which is going to go into the meatball. We have some tomato that's going to go in my green sauce. So my green sauce, it was really inspired by the Yemeni sauce, the Yemeni condiment Zahawig, right? Which is made out of fresh herbs, it's made out of mint, it's made out of chilies, and so that's what we're kind of going for. So we have some lovely lemons, we have some plum tomatoes, my friends, we have some of these jalapenos as well as my green chili. We want something nice and vegetal and nice and spicy, so either serrano chilies or the green chilies that would be used in a lot of South Asian cooking, or jalapenos. All of those would be amazing. And then everybody, we have a cucumber for the tzatziki as well. Okay, so that is all of my ingredients. Death Owl, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you. And last but not least, guys, we might also end up using, I have some arbol powder, which is a dried Mexican chili. It's a spicy and fruity chili. This might go into the meatball, as well as some cumin as well, depending on how we're feeling. So we're working with a lot of different ingredients today. We have a lot of work that we need to go ahead and do. Is everybody ready for it today? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. We're not going to work with the herbs for a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and put them into the fridge. In the meantime, I'll have a little sip of water, and then you and I, my friends, we could probably begin. So I'll just go ahead and grab a glass. I'll get some water. And as always, everybody, if anybody has any cooking questions, you can always ask me at any point in time. It can be about this dish, it can be about something else, and you can always type in !mark menu to get a full list of all of the different ingredients that we have. Okay, so everybody, we're going to start off today by sorting our lentils. So let's go ahead and give these bad boys a little look-skis. Here is all of my red lentils, my friends. This is, once again, roughly 175 grams of lentils or so. And so, all that we're really looking to do here is we're looking to see if there's any lentils with the skin on, and we want to go ahead and take those out. Koi, you ask me how's my oven doing? The answer is it is all fixed, and we got it back attached and everything. So everything is fine. Now, granted, most commercially packed lentils, they don't need a significant amount of sorting, but you're really looking for little stones. Sometimes, if there is stone ground to be able to get the skins off, you could risk finding a few little tiny bits of stones, but as the process modernizes, again, it's not something that you find as much anymore. But every now and then, we get a lentil that hasn't been fully skinned. And so that's what I'm doing, guys. I'm just going through it all, and I'm sorting it, and I'm sorting it, and I'm just looking for any kind of significant imperfections. There you go. Found a few of those little guys. Found a good handful of them, actually. They didn't do that good of a job of actually processing them. And so again, why do we remove the skins? The skins are what actually holds the lentils together. And so with red and yellow lentils, you're not looking for the lentils to stay intact, you want them to fall apart. Green, black, and brown lentils, they're much well suited for whenever you want to have whole chunks of lentil in something. Especially, let's say you want to do a lentil soup that's not creamy, or you want to do some sort of a lentil salad, in which case the green, brown, and black lentils, they hold up to cooking that much better. The red and yellow lentils are intentionally meant to turn into mush, my friends. They're supposed to get soft, they're supposed to get mushy. And so all that I'm going to do, now that I just roughly sorted them, again, I could be a lot more thorough with it, but I actually don't care enough to do so. I'm just gonna wash them up. I'm gonna go ahead and wash up these bad boys, same exact way that you would do rice, which is just over some cold running water, agitate it a few times, and then rinse it out. And that will take care of any other debris that might be on the lentils in the meantime. Okay, so just going in there and rinsing off my lentils. Although this bowl might be a little too small for this quantity of lentils. And I should have probably gotten my strainer out. And so everybody, as I am washing up these lentils, now, as always, would be a really good time to ask me any cooking questions that you may have. Just giving them a few rinses. And when you do rinse them, a lot of the loose skins do end up floating to the top as well. So it's a nice way to be able to get rid of them. So going in there, my friends, just agitating my lentils. What made you want to cook? So Koi, that's a really good question. And the answer is, I have quite a few of them. First of all, the actual way that I got into cooking was because when I was a kid, I got very sick and tired of eating nothing but Russian food all the time. I was an avid watcher of things like Food Network, and I was on cooking YouTube at that time as well. And so I wanted to learn how to cook because I was so sick and tired of eating nothing but Russian food all the time. Now, at this point in my life, I of course have a much better newfound appreciation for Russian food, and I'm quite nostalgic about it. But initially, I was motivated out of spite. And then, second of all, what made me want to cook is that it was always my hyperfixation. I love eating, I love being able to talk about food, I love the sensation of eating, and I love being able to make meaningful stuff out of food, right? So I have a lot of different reasons, I have a lot of different motivating factors, essentially. Okay, my lentils are now mostly rinsed off. Just getting them all into a strainer, my friends, and then we'll go ahead and get them into the pot to cook already. Okay, excellent. So, I love using spite as a motivator. That's right. Also, welcome on Anagon. It's lovely to have you. Hope you're having an excellent day today. How'd you find the show? So, everybody, I have prepared here just one little pot. I have this little cocotte, right? And inside of this cocotte is where we will be cooking up the lentils and the bulgur wheat as well. So, these are my washed and sorted and drained lentils. Adding them all into the pot just as it is. And the only goal now, my friends, is just to get them cooked alongside a little bit of water. Okay? And so we want to get these lentils so soft that they basically turn into mush. The point of these red lentils is for them to fall apart. We don't want to have too much water. I believe I'm going to need about 400 milliliters of water, according to some of the places that I was just referencing from. Do I have a favorite food? My answer really fluctuates as to what my favorite food is, but usually it is rice and beans. I do love rice and beans above all else. Okay, so we're gonna need, that's right, we're gonna need roughly 400 milliliters of water. All we have to do, my friends, is bring it up to a boil, drop it to a simmer, and 400 milliliters of water, that is like just shy of 2 cups. So we're gonna go ahead and add that on in. Okay, especially because they're already a little bit wet, so they don't need too much more liquid. And so, my friends, actually, when it comes to cooking the lentils for this portion, it's super easy, it's super quick. All that we need to do is bring this up to a boil, drop it to a simmer, and let it go for about 25 to 30 minutes in total. The point of these lentils is for them to fall apart, my friends. It is for them to turn into mush. They're going to soak up all of the liquid inside of the pot. We don't have to worry about adding any flavorings or seasonings at this stage. We could do a little bit of salt, but we're going to be mixing in salt at a different point. Okay, so lentils inside, take it, just throw that heat onto a medium high, bring it to a boil, drop it to a simmer, put a lid on it, and then we're going to go ahead and cook it for about 25 to 30 minutes. Does anybody have any questions for my lovely little lentils in the meantime? And then while the lentils are going, we can go ahead and proceed with all the other different things that we have to do together, my friends. So, lentils, they're going. And again, this is just a continuous exercise for me to be able to get into the habit of eating more lentils. I want to know all the different things that I can do with lentils. I find out with red and yellow lentils, I got pigeonholed very briefly into only doing lentil soups. And so I love Turkish food. Turkish cuisine is one of the ones that I take the most amount of inspiration from. And I wanted to give this dish a shot today. And so we have a lot of other work that we can go ahead and do in the meantime, my friends, while the lentils are cooking up. Okay, we have to do a vegetable prep. We have to go ahead and saute the onions as well. We're gonna have to cook that alongside the tomato paste and the red hot pepper paste, and then we'll mix it all together with the chopped up herbs, form it into balls, and it's gonna be delicious. So, while the lentils are going, my friends, let's go ahead and talk about breaking down this onion. So, I think lentil dal is one of my favorite ways to eat lentils. Well, Cactus SP, I think you just said lentil because dal means lentils. So there's a lot of different preparations of dal, of course, and I do love dal. I do love dal to death. Not to just actually you as soon as you come in. So there we go. I got half an onion here, and in total I think I'm going to use 1 large onion. I might save a little bit of onion for the green sauce that we're doing later on. So everybody, as always, when I'm processing an onion, we keep the root of the onion intact. We just go in there and we cut off the head. We cut off the head. As always, guys, you never want to go between the cutting board and the trash can. We have a bowl ready to go that functions as our waste bowl where we put all the different vegetable scraps. Okay, and there you go. And now that we have this bad boy sliced in half, we can really, really easily just peel him up. So, everybody, for the onions, what we're looking for today is a very, very, very small, fine dice, because the goal of the onions is not for us to bite into a massive chunk of them. The goal of the onions is for it to basically melt into the Mercimek köftesi. Okay, we want to cut it so finely that as it cooks, it basically breaks down and turns really, really soft. So anytime you're cooking, you have to make those kinds of considerations and those kinds of choices as to why am I cutting things a certain way. If you want big chunks of onion in a soup, then you would do big chunks of onion. But we need fine little onions that would easily hold. Sunny Peach Crush, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So everybody, we're going to start off by making a bunch of incisions. So we're going to be doing the onion fan method. So we're going to take the onion, and we're going to cut into it a bunch of little tiny parallel incisions. Super, super thin, super, super close to each other. Okay? Super thin, just like so, my friends. Nice and thin, nice and thin, nice and thin, nice and easy, nice and easy. Okay? And we want to go ahead and really, really fan it out until it's nice and thin, my friends, just like this. Okay, so super, super small, compact fan. Next, we're going to go in and make a few horizontal incisions as well. And this just ensures that all of the pieces are as small as humanly possible. Going in there, flat hand on top, keeping it all nice and steady. And now, my friends, we can go ahead and get into a nice fine dice. Big time Colorado, welcome on in. Hold it together. Your pinky and your thumb are your stabilizers, and then your other 3 fingers are what end up guiding the knife. So guys, fine dice, nice sharp knife, nice and thin, and do not chop it. You want to go ahead and slice it, my friends. Use the full length of the knife, use the full length until we get all of these beautiful thinly, and finely diced up onions. Just like so. Beautiful. And all of these, my friends, they're going to melt down in the cooking process. I feel like I've called you guys my friends so many times. But nice and thin. Beautiful. Those are some perfectly diced onions, aren't they? Chef, red onions are always a crying battle to cut. I've tried soaking them in water for an hour, but they're still unbearable. So yeah, red onions, they can be a little bit more tricky because of the fact that they do tend to be more pungent than other forms of onion. But in general, the advice will always go that if you're crying when you're cutting onions, it is usually because your knife is not sharp enough. So my advice to you, it seems like a bit of a cop-out, but it is because your knife is probably still crushing it too much. Your knife is crushing it too much, and you're not able to get a nice easy slice all the way through, right? But in my case, nice sharp knife, no tears to be found whatsoever. Getting in there, processing it. That is, Ron, maybe the nicest thing I've had anybody ever say to me. That I have the voice of... Sure. I don't think I've ever received that as a compliment before, but thank you. I guess so. Okay. So, everybody, my onions got nice and diced. We got them to a nice fine dice. They're going to melt in during the cooking process. We can go ahead and take a look at my lovely little lentils. You can see that they're boiling over pretty hard at this stage, right? So at this point, we don't need them to be on such an aggressive boil. Just give it a stir. Make sure that nothing is sticking on the bottom. Everybody, lentils are primarily made out of protein, okay? And thus, they are sticky. Things that have a lot of protein will want to stick to the bottom. Proteins and starches especially. So get in there and dislodge any of the lentils that might be stuck. We've lowered the heat, of course, as well at the same time. And I'm setting the timer on for about 20 to 30 minutes. Just for them to gently simmer along. But get in there, guys, and really, truly break it up. Break up any of the lentils that could be stuck to the bottom. The way that I could have avoided this is by, by just stirring before we got to a boiling point. I ended up stirring a little bit too late, and as a result, a few of my beautiful, precious lentils have stuck to the bottom. But that's okay. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. So get in there, stir it all around, and this is going to basically turn into a big pile of lentil mush. And that is okay. That is exactly what we're looking for. So, stir it up. Nice low-medium heat on the simmer at this point. Pop that lid right back on, and let it continue to cook, my friends. Okay, let's go ahead and get this onion transferred off of my cutting board and into the bowl. And as always, everybody, you never want to overcrowd your cutting board. You never want to start cutting more things before removing what you already have. Your cutting board is not a plate. Please don't treat it as such. You want to go ahead and be nice and compact and nice and organized. So, getting in there and getting all of my onions off of the cutting board and onto the plate. Excellent. And now we have the other onion half for us to process. Although I do kind of wish I tied up my hair beforehand. That would have made my life a lot easier. Okay. Excellent. Let's go ahead and do the second onion. So, once again, everybody, same exact technique as before. We're going in there and we're making a bunch of super thin, super fine, parallel incisions. Basically, paper thin. Paper thin, and you want to fan out the onion. It's held by the root. It keeps it from falling apart. So get in there, everybody, and fan it out. Fan it out. Fan it out. Nice and gently. Get it done. Beautiful. Then, once again, we're going to go back in. Also, Iskia, welcome on in. It is not a lentil soup today. We're doing Mercimek köftesi, so the Turkish lentil meatballs. They're completely vegetarian. In fact, they're completely vegan had it not been for my sauce, because I'm going to be doing the yogurt sauce today. Right? But these will still come out really delicious. Okay. And now that we have all of the incisions made, everybody, once again, we just go back in. And we slice it up, 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 and slice it up, and slice it up, until we have this really beautiful, nice, fine dice. Okay, grab that once my cutting board feels a little bit crowded. I've got a clean technique too, thank you, Ron. And the answer is no, I don't have any formal cooking education whatsoever. I've just been cooking for 14 years. I've been cooking since I was 7 years old. I've been cooking for a very long time. And so I love just explaining technique and why certain things work. Okay? And so ultimately, we're trying to go as slowly as possible. We're trying to just go slowly. You'll build up with tempo over time. Just go nice and slow and get that beautiful fine dice. There you go. All the way. All the way. Excellent. Now, big onions, they can be a little bit annoying. What I like to do is sometimes to cut them from quarters instead of halves, because they tend to spill out all over the place when they're so big. But in this case, I'm just going to tough it out. We're going to get it all done. But before we continue, I am just going to go back to Mr. Lentil, make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. And the lentils are successfully soaking up that water now, which is really important that they do that. You want to get them nice and soft, nice and supple to make the Mercimek köftesi. Okay. Once again, everybody, nice thin slices all the way through, all the way through. There you go. Excellent. And we're just about done with the onion at this stage. We have a few more pieces that I did not do that good of a job of getting in the first half. Do they make an automatic onion dicing machine? I'm done crying. So the answer is this. For food prep reasons, and then also in like commercial kitchens, what they oftentimes do is you have a little press. You have a press that you can just, theoretically put any vegetable inside of it, but it's oftentimes used as an onion dicer. That being said, I need you to consider something for a second, which is that machines don't actually do as clean of a job as a sharp knife does, because you have a steel quality that's not necessarily as good as you would have on a chef's knife. And it's a lot of crushing motions. It's a lot of vertical crushing motions where the edges of the vegetable end up getting damaged. So they do make automatic onion dicing machines. You could also use a food processor, but if anything, even though it gets through the job faster, it will make you cry more than anything else. So everybody, all of my onions, this is one massive onion that we have all cut up here. I'm not going to need this other onion half for the rest of today, so I'm going to go ahead and probably get rid of that. Just throw that into the fridge with some plastic wrap. My lentils are slowly cooking up, and once my lentils get soft, we'll just add in the wheat and let that all soak in. Is speed worth the pain? It only really depends, Koi, on how much stuff that you need to do. If you have a massive batch of onions that you want to get done and prepped, then I would recommend something like a food processor. We will actually be also featuring a food processor today because I will be using it to grate the cucumber. I love using my food processor to grate things like cucumber because doing it by hand takes up so much time and can be so annoying and obnoxious. So that is not really for me. Okay, next. Let's go ahead and process up some of the other vegetables that we're going to need for today. I'm just cleaning up my station using my bench scraper, getting all the stuff that I no longer need out of here. And so, next thing that we're going to get ready for today, my friends, is my scallions. So some of the scallions, they're going to get mixed into both the sauce as well as the Mercimek köftesi today. Okay, so I have all of the butts of the scallions that need to get trimmed off. So that's what I'm doing. We're trimming off the butts. We're getting those guys out of here, and then we're going to go ahead and set them aside. Do you put the onion in the fridge after cutting it, or is it good outside still? So Alakis, if you're talking about the onion half that I'm not using today, then that goes back into the fridge. As for the diced onion that I'm going to be using later, as long as it's being used within 5 hours, 4 hours, then it's going to be okay, especially if you're treating it with heat. So these diced onions, I'm leaving out and I'm not putting into the fridge. I think that was a really good question. Sometimes you would put things into the fridge if you're afraid of them melting. So things like cheese, dairy products, you don't want to get up to room temperature. But things like cut up vegetables, they can stay there for a while. Chef, what sport did you enjoy watching or watch the most in the Olympics? The answer is I didn't really keep up with the Olympics, I'm afraid. So I don't think I have a very good answer to your question. Everybody, it has happened once again where my beautiful lentils are sticking to the bottom of the pot because I did not come back in and stir this in time. So we're going to lower the heat. This is totally okay. It is fine. It is salvageable even. We just got to go in there and really make sure that it is nice and dislodged. So get those lentils out of here, my friends. Get them out of here. Get them scraped off the bottom of the pot here. And of course, if you are using something like a cookot, if you're using something like a Dutch oven or something like a nonstick pan, as always, we never use metal tools, only wood and only silicone, so that we do not damage that beautiful coating, my friends. Okay, so get in there and really work it. And you're gonna see that the lentils are falling apart, and that's okay. The point of this lentils is to turn it into mush. Okay, it needs to get soft, it needs to get mushy. This is going to become the basis of all of the food that we're eating today. So keep it cooking, my friends, keep it going, let it do its own thing. Just scrape it off the bottom if any of it gets stuck. And now at this stage, because of how viscous it's become, I'm going to lower the heat even more so that it is on just like the lowest of low at this point. Dara would definitely win Master Chef. So genuinely, I don't really love those kinds of cooking competitions. And the reason why I don't love those kinds of cooking competitions is because it's not a way that anybody really cooks. right? Nobody really cooks in a way of like they have to do everything within 30 minutes. They have to do everything within an hour. A lot of professional chefs, right? People that work on the line, they have their prep already done for them. So they go in there, they reach, and they already have a method. No, home cooks don't also have to do everything in 30 minutes to in an hour, and it's this elaborate three-course meal. And so as a result, I do find that oftentimes, you know, I'm not all that crazy about those kinds of cooking competition shows. I find that it's, you know, fairly unrealistic above all else. Now, granted, it is entertainment TV, but it is a specific skill set that nobody else is actively using, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so everybody, we have these lovely scallions here. Okay, and once again, some of it is going to be saved specifically for the spicy green sauce that we're doing. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and save these bad boys for the green sauce, and then the rest of them are going to go ahead and get chopped up to go towards the Mercimek. So these guys, these will get put into the food processor later on. I'm just going to go ahead and just chunk them up in the meantime and put them right back onto my plate. And this will be the basis of one of my sauces. Okay. And then, my friends, for the rest of these scallions, we're looking for a very, very, very fine dice. Once again, we want them super, super finely sliced because these are going to get mixed in. So, you don't want it to all fall apart. You don't want your Mercimek to have massive chunks of raw scallion inside of them. And so, we will be once again pursuing that beautiful fine dice, my friends. So, getting in there, cutting them all into half, cutting them all in half, just like so. Excellent. Stack them up. And once again, super, super, super fine, fine dice, everybody. Okay? So going in there, stack them all up. In fact, we might need to do this in 2 stacks. That's how big that bundle was. Stack it up and dice it, dice it, dice it, dice it. Everybody, don't go with a vertical down motion. Your knife will slip out. You want to slice it, not chop it. So slice it, slice it, slice it, slice it. Slice it up, slice it up, slice it up, slice it up, slice it up. Just like so. Slice it all up. That is exactly what we're looking for. And then after this batch, I'm going to go back in and stir my lentils again, just to again continue to make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom of my pot. That's 1 batch of scallions done. Arrakis, when is my birthday? The answer is November 1st. You miss Good Eats? So gone. Good Eats is one of the few cooking shows that I do really, really love, and I think it was made with integrity. In retrospect, I don't love how much misinformation there was in Good Eats. I feel like it was, of course, one of the biggest shows to misuse a bunch of scientific jargon, but it was still a really good show, all things considered. So, everybody, once again, I have some lentils stuck to the bottom of my pot because I'm not continuously stirring it. And so, as a result, we have another mess that we have to go ahead and take care of really quickly. The lentils should not be squished at this stage. I'm just going to add in a little splash of water extra to help to dislodge everything. But got to go in there and got to get it all broken up. Get him out of there, fix him, save him, do what I got to do. So just really, really working those lentils. Also, Blinkwitch, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. I hope you're having an amazing day today. All right, there you go. Get them all back in there, get them all mixed up. We're basically making a lentil porridge in the meantime. There she is. And if you were to taste it, that is just plain boiled lentils, mashed up, but even then, I do find it quite endearing and quite delicious. Just this proteiny sludge in the meantime. Any fat in the pot? Not all gone. So the only goal was to get it nice and soft through wet cooking, through just some water. So there is no fat in that pot at all. So all that means is that it's just going to require a little bit of constant attention. It's just going to require a little bit of babysitting. I think my heat is still a little bit too high. I'll drop my heat and then we'll go back in every so often and stir it up a little bit. We just don't want to leave her too long by herself. Okay, don't leave it too unattended, my friends. Get back in there, stir it up, stir it up, stir it up, stir it up. Until all of those lentils have fully and completely fallen apart. Come on, there you go. Excellent. Just slowly but surely getting us over the finish line. Okay, what can we do in the meantime? Well, we can continue processing this batch of scallions that we have here. One little batch of scallions has been all done, and now we can go ahead and move on to the next one, which is gonna be this guy. Take it, bundle it up, stack it up in your hands, my friends, and we're once again just looking for a super, super, super fine dice. We want the scallion to not quite melt in. We want to give a little bit of crunch. It's going to give us that delicious allium-y flavor, but we just don't want it to be so big that it completely falls out. The Mercimek köftesi, they're going to have plenty of texture inside of them. They're gonna have the fresh herbs, they're gonna have the soft onion, they're gonna have the lentils. But these bad boys, they gotta stay nice and finely diced for us. Okay, that looks to be all set. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the final mixing bowl that will be used for the lentils. Just grab these bad boys and stack it in. Grab them, pile them up inside. Excellent. And now, once again, in the interest of continuing to babysit the lentils, we're going to go back in and give it yet another stir. Just to make sure that nothing is sticking, nothing is squelching, that nothing is burning on the bottom. Oh, a little bit of effort, a little bit of elbow grease. So chef, are you holding the knife on the handle or slightly ahead? Shai Chica, I will show off my knife grip in just a second, as soon as we're done with the lentils. I know I keep getting distracted and keep going back to them, but it is really, really important that they get all evenly cooked down. So, please forgive me for not giving you my completely undivided attention. And so, I'll show you the way that I hold my knife. And so, the way that you hold your knife, it does depend a little bit on the style of the thing that you're doing, and then also the size of the knife. And let me explain why. So, this is considered, by all means, the contemporary correct way to hold the knife, which is, you have your middle finger all the way up till the hilt of the knife, and then you're pinching using your thumb and your index finger, and you're pinching the base of the blade. And so you hold it like this, instead of like this, because the closer you are to the blade, the more control that you actually have, and it's a lot more comfortable in your hand. Now, for maximum control, this is the angle that you would do. This is not considered the most ergonomic hand grip on a knife. This is the kind of a knife grip that you would have if you were doing something like sushi, for instance. You would hold your knife parallel to the back of the your finger to the back of the knife, to the spine of the blade, and then you would do long slices this way. But this is not your go-to knife grip. I would usually alternate between this one and this one. Sometimes, for something like a petty knife, the knife is so thin that you actually don't have any space to put the middle finger in which case I do a thumb grip, where I keep my thumb on the edge of the knife. If it's too thin, if I don't have any space to go ahead and put my middle finger up, I put my thumb down and then I cut this way. But the answer is, by default, your default position should be this, unless that knife is too small, in which case you do this. And if you're doing something like sushi, you would use this kind of a knife grip with the most amount of control to it. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, back to the lentils, give them a little mix. Make sure that that's all coming along. I am going to go and probably say that these lentils might just be done at this stage. I think that the lentils are done. The lentils have completely fallen apart. They've turned into this almost like porridge-like consistency. And I think now would be a good time for us to add in the bulgur wheat. Also, thank you so much to Cather Queen for the sub. Cather Queen, welcome on in. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so getting in there and just really once again unsticking any of that lentil that's dried up on the bottom of the pot here, and getting it back in and getting it all nice and hydrated again. Okay, and everybody, with that 20 minutes of cook time or so for the red lentils, I think that that's gonna be perfect. Now, all that we need to do, my dried bulgur wheat is gonna go ahead and go in, and we're gonna add in a nice pinch of salt as well at this stage. We have to mix it up, and the bulgur wheat is going to soak up any of the excess moisture from the lentils. It's going to soak it up and it's going to get nice and thick. So right now, it looks like a bunch of little granules, right? It doesn't really look all that cohesive, but it'll all come together. So mix it up. Mix it up. Mix up the wheat, mix up the lentils. Mix it all together. Get all of the edges in there, my friends. Get it all fully mixed in. And the bulgur is going to hydrate with all the steam. It is going to hydrate with all of the remaining moisture. And the bulgur will be what brings these beautiful lentils ultimately together. Okay? So, really making sure that it's all broken up. Great. Excellent. Get that back in there. And now, my friends, the only thing we have to let this do is just let it steam. You just want to let this steam until the bulgur is no longer hard, maybe 20 to 30 minutes or so. Okay, Koi, you've asked me what is my opinion on frozen food like chicken nuggets or corn dogs. The answer is most of it isn't all that great. There's a couple of frozen items that I like to have on hand, like frozen vegetables. But as far as like the pre-made frozen stuff, it exists out of convenience. It is, of course, cheaper to usually make those kinds of things yourself. The only things that I would typically buy frozen would be frozen vegetables and frozen potatoes. That would be the only ones that I would personally buy frozen for the needs of my own home kitchen. I'm here to get people so excited about cooking that they don't feel the need to go for frozen food ever. Right? So, oh yeah, and then also some shrimp. But then also I feel like that doesn't include like frozen meat products or anything. Okay, so everybody, little recap session. All that we've accomplished so far, we were able to chop up some of the onion. We have the bulgur wheat and the lentils steaming together. The bulgur is going to soak up the excess moisture and it's going to function as the binding agent. It is going to be what is responsible for keeping all of the mixture that we have inside of the pot at the moment, to keep it all together and to keep it nice and glued. Because without it, without that bulgur wheat, we would just have this porridge of lentil that would just completely fall apart. Next, everybody, we're going to go ahead and begin frying up our onions. Now, I'm just using a little nonstick pan here because I don't have anything to really deglaze this with, and so a nonstick pan I think would have been optimal for me in this case. But any pan would do here. So, Sunny Peach Crush, you asked me, what is the largest meal I've ever cooked for how many people? I've made a lot of large meals in my lifetime. I've done some holiday party things for like 30 people. I cooked for like my high school and my middle school classes a couple of times, and that was like for 30, 40 plus people or so. So the answer is a lot. I've made food for a lot of people. It's kind of difficult for it to scale when it comes to that many people, but I was still able to make it mostly work somehow. Okay, everybody, non-stick pan, medium low heat or so. And all that we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to properly and beautifully saute these onions. We're going to get them nice and soft, we're going to get them nice and golden, and we're going in with an aggressive amount of olive oil. Because everybody, with Turkish food, you can never have too much olive oil. You have lean lentils, you have all the bulgur wheat, you have all of those herbs. You need a lot of olive oil to be able to compensate. Okay, and the olive oil is also going to function as the thing that is bringing the heat to the onions. We need an aggressive amount of olive oil, so do not be afraid, do not fear this quantity that we have here. Okay, and all that we're going to do, we're going to heat this up on a medium low. We don't need this to be smoking hot or anything. We just need this hot enough that we can begin to properly saute the onions. Does anybody have any questions for me at this moment in time? And if not, we can go ahead and move on with all the other stuff that we got to do, which is going to be prepping some of the herbs that we need for today. So, I'll begin and take them out of the fridge and onto the cutting board. So, my goal for today was to use up all of the basil that I have here, and thus the basil is going to be featured in every single component. It's going to be featured in the spicy green sauce, it's going to be a component of the tzatziki, and then it's also going to get mixed directly in to the Mercimek köftesi. Okay? So I have all of this gorgeous fresh basil here. I'm just going back in and I'm checking on my lentils and my wheat mixture, seeing how that's doing. Looks great, but I do wonder if it should be this dry. I'm gonna say yes, but it is quite tasty just by itself. The lentils and the wheat together, just as is with some salt. Excellent. Okay, everybody, basil, all that I'm gonna go ahead and do is just pluck this bad boy off the leaves, or excuse me, off the stems. And the goal was to use all of it up. This was my main inspiration for today. Now, oh, that's my kitchen timer, excuse me. Now, again, everybody, normally, basil is not something that is particularly featured in a lot of Turkish cuisine. In Turkish food, parsley is king. You see parsley all over the place. You see mint all over the place as well. Basil, not so much. But that doesn't mean that we can't use it. The biggest thing here that I'm trying to show you is how adaptable, it's how flexible home cooking can be, and how to make something really authentic. I had basil, and I wanted to use it up before it went bad. And so, I'm adapting all the different things I'm making to include that basil. Is this the most authentic to Turkish cuisine? No, but it is the most authentic for my home kitchen. Okay, and that, above all else, is what matters. That's what I'm here to go ahead and teach you guys. I'm here to teach you all how to make food in your home kitchen that makes sense, that is adaptable to your environment. So, let's say you don't have this, but you have tarragon, if you have parsley, if you have cilantro, if you have mint, all the things that I'm showing you here will be applicable. They can go ahead and throw in. And that is some of the magic of cooking. That is how creative it is and how loose it can be. So, my olive oil should now be nice and hot at this stage. We're going to go in with all of my onions, just directly into the oil. An aggressive amount of onions. This is just one large onion for that amount of olive oil. So get it all in there, get it all into the pan. And everybody, as always, I try to teach you guys over and over again, cook it low and slow, cook it on medium heat, cook it on medium-low heat. You don't want any superficial browning in the beginning. You want to slowly cook this out until the vegetable itself collapses and releases its liquid into the pan. So generous, and I mean generous amount of salt going in now. The salt is going to help to pull out some of the moisture out of the onions, as well as also season it all in one go. And it does not have to be perfectly mixed up at this stage either. All that I'm doing is I'm scraping down the sides of the pan to stop any of the onions from burning, and these will now need to slowly cook, my friends, nice and slow. So, Sunny Peach Crush, I like that yes, chef. It was a nice reminder to get everybody to say yes, chef, please, and thank you. So, basil leaves. Some of these are going to go into the food processor for my green sauce, okay? And so those bad boys, I'm going to just go ahead and set aside and leave them for the future, right? So just grabbing some of them, and I think that will be a sufficient amount for everything else that we have today. So these will go into the final green sauce. Next, we need to go ahead and get some of these really, really finely minced for the meatballs. So, for the meatballs, I think I'm going to be using roughly, let's say, this much basil. And everything's going to have plenty of fresh basil in it today, my friends. I want it to be nice and fresh, nice and aromatic, right? So take it, roll it up nice and tight. And then we're just going to go in there and we're going to give it a nice little slice, my friends. Nice, thin slice, paper thin. You don't want to chop it. You want to go nice and gently. You want to use the full length of your knife. You want to go nice and slowly, nice and fine, thin slices. Because again, you want your basil to just be fully immersed inside of the final meatball, inside of the final Mercimek köftesi. Okay? So thin slices. Then we're going to take it, give it all a nice big rotation, and go back in and give that another little mince. Slicing it, my friends, never chopping it, only slicing. We're slicing, we're not chopping, we're not crushing, we're not destroying. Okay? So going back in there, probably giving it one more go. Excellent. Beautifully sliced up basil, nice and fine. And I'm just gonna grab this bad boy and add them into the bowl with all of my chopped up scallions. Going back to the onions, giving them a little stir. See how they're doing? Check on these bad boys. They're looking good. And everybody, as you can tell, you can see the onions have become flooded with water. That is all of the water coming out of the onions. A high heat would not have saved you. Because remember, onions, any vegetable that you're trying to, especially in a fine dice saute, it is a process. You need to collapse the vegetable first. you need to collapse it. Once it's collapsed, it releases its liquid, and then we evaporate the liquid. And only when it evaporates can we actually get to the browning portion. Right now, the onions are basically stewing in their own liquid. They're stewing in their own liquid, they're doing their thing, and they need time and love. Okay, so give them that time, give them that love. Don't leave them by themselves for too long, but it's gonna come out and be perfect. Okay. I'm just checking on my lentils, I'm checking on my wheat. It seems like we got a good paste out of it. Delicious. Actually, surprisingly delicious. It is just dried lentils and wheat, and yet it's pretty excellent. So, chef, have you tried Beyond Meat? What was your first opinion on the taste of synthetic meat? So, Sunny Peach Kush, I love the taste of it. I think it actually very much so emulates ground beef, especially in a burger, which is a setting that I had it in. I thought it was great. My issue with Beyond is specifically, what is the amount of energy consumption that goes into creating this as a meat substitute? On an ecological scale, does this actually produce less emissions? And then my other concern is that it is expensive. So the only people that can consistently afford something like Beyond Meat, and I mean like comfortably, consistently afford it, are people with a lot of money, are people that have those nice little tech jobs where they get to walk into Trader Joe's and buy their vegan, meat substitute. So my concerns with Beyond Meat are simply of its cost and accessibility, or the lack thereof. Okay? And then also, I'm not fully educated on whether or not ecologically it has a better impact than that of actual real meat. So those would be my natural concerns. Okay, this is all the basil that's going to be used for the tzatziki, my friends. So we're going to treat this in a really, really similar way as before, which is just thinly slicing it up. Just thinly slice it up. Get it done. Does Dara have issues with tech people that shop at Trader Joe's? Koi, it's not that I have a problem with them, but I have a problem with products that are specifically limited in accessibility to only like them. Am I vegan? Arrakis, I am not vegan. I'm not vegan at all. I love my meat. I love my dairy products. But I am just trying to decrease my meat intake, mostly because of its cost. Buying a lot of meat and eating a lot of meat is not cheap by any means. Right? Okay. So, going back through this basil, getting in there, really properly slicing all of it up. Excellent. And I'll go ahead and get that transferred into yet another little mixing bowl. And that will be for the tzatziki. Ugh. So you aren't the rich person I thought you were? No, Koi, I'm afraid I am not. So, everybody, my minced up basil, this is going to be going towards the tzatziki. We have some whole basil leaves that will be used towards the green sauce. And then we also have some basil that was dedicated for the meatballs today. Okay, we're going to go back to the onions. You can hear that we have a sizzle beginning to form. The onions are beginning to release their liquid. The liquid is beginning to evaporate. And as a result, they can now begin to actually properly fry in all of that oil. Okay, so the goal now, my friends, is to get these onions super soft. We're gonna get them nice and jammy. We're gonna get them nice and sweet. We'll add in the tomato paste. We'll add in the red pepper paste, and it will be excellent. Okay. So that's going on, that's happening. In the meantime, what else can we do? Well, we can do some of the other prep that we have to get done today. Specifically, we have these little jalapenos. This is gonna be used for the spicy green sauce. So all that I'm gonna do, because of the fact that this is going into a food processor to make my life substantially easier, all that I'm going to go ahead and do is just chunk them up. I'm just gonna chunk them up into some pieces that my food processor would be able to best handle. 3 jalapenos. Excellent. Just take them and get them out of here, out of sight and out of mind. Okay. Next, I have some tomatoes, my friends. And the tomatoes I'm going to process in a very similar way once again, which is I just want to chunk them up. I want to get them into slightly smaller pieces so that my food processor can handle it. So 2 plum tomatoes. You could use any kind of tomato for this. I'm choosing plum tomatoes because they tend to be the least wet, and these also tend to be the cheapest tomatoes at the supermarket, right? They tend to have the least amount of water. Plum tomatoes, they tend to be the fleshiest, okay? So, taking that bad boy, going in there, making incisions, and cutting out the core of the tomato. And all that I'm gonna do now is just go in there and cut this up into chunks. cut it up into chunks. Cut it up into chunks. Just once again, something that my food processor would be able to easily handle. So 2 plum tomatoes, 3 jalapenos, and so Roma tomatoes, I believe, are a specific type of plum tomatoes, and plum tomatoes is the greater overarching category. I hope that answers your question, Blinkridge. So let's go back to Mr. Onion. Let's see how he's coming along. You can see that he's getting nice and golden. He's getting nice and delicious. He's getting nice and soft because we have officially entered the sautéing stage. We have evaporated so much of the liquid that it can now properly fry in the oil. Okay, so going in there, flipping it around, making sure that no onions are stuck to the edges, and everybody, I cannot emphasize this enough. You want low, medium heat. You don't want high heat. You're gonna just brown the edges. You're gonna brown the outside of the onion without slowly browning all the sugars that come out in its juice. Low, medium heat. Can I please get a yes, chef, from everybody watching, please, and thank you. Okay. All right, excellent. Got a lot of stuff processed so far. Next thing that we're going to need is this cucumber. We're going to do roughly half a cucumber for today. And then the other half, I can just go ahead and throw this into my fridge. And we don't need to process the cucumber anymore. I'm just going to be using the grater attachment on my food processor to be able to break all of it down. Makes my life so much easier. Going back in here. Excellent. Looks phenomenal at the moment. Today, I think, is actually going to be a relatively short show, all things considered. Delicious. Just frying onions in some olive oil. You can't really complain about that too much. Okay. So that's there. That's ready to go. Next step, we're going to need some garlic prepped. Some garlic is going to go into both the tzatziki as well as the spicy green sauce. So we're going to do, I want to say 2 cloves of garlic for my tzatziki. It's going to be roughly a cup of yogurt, so just 2 is going to be more than enough. And then for the spicy green sauce, I'm going to want a little bit more pungency. I'm going to do, let's say, 4 small raw garlic cloves. I think that's going to be plenty. All the garlic in today's food, though, it is going to be raw. That is a consideration that you need to make. That is something that is really, really important, because when it is raw, it is the most pungent. All that I'm going to go ahead and do is take it and smash it down to go ahead and peel off those skins. The waste bowl is a nice place to keep snacks for later. I don't know if that was my original vision for the waste bowl, Dosky, but I guess that works too. Okay, so taking it and opening them all up. And now that we've gone ahead and smashed all of my garlic cloves, we can just peel up these bad boys, peel them up, get them done, get them out of here. Sometimes I wish America was like Gotham. Koi, I'm not really sure what that means in this case, or what you are looking for. There you go. All of my onions nicely and beautifully frying up, getting nice and soft, getting nice and golden. Exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, next. Coming back through all of this. Just peeling up my garlic. Peeling up my garlic. And the onion is such an essential part of these because it's going to provide that sweetness. It's going to also provide a lot of the moisture for the Mercimek köftesi. Right? Otherwise, it'll be super, super dry, just from like the lentils and the bulgur. Oh, this garlic clove is being so annoying today. This one is being exceptionally stubborn. I don't think I smashed them nearly as much as I could have. Okay? And so, all that I'm going to go ahead and do for the garlic that is going towards the spicy green sauce, because that will be once again made in the food processor, we're not going to need to do any more prep for it. There's not going to be any more work that is required. All that I'm going to do is just take the butts off, grab these 4, and then go ahead and put them in with the rest of the ingredients that will be going to that. Now, I'm going to go back and stir up my onions. Again, just ensuring that they're all evenly cooking. And also, you might be asking, why are you talking about rich people in a cooking show? That's because you can't separate food from politics. Food and politics are so intertwined. Food is political. Food is innately political. And that is such an important concept that more people need to really, really internalize. In fact, almost nothing in life is actually apolitical, right? Everything that I'm trying to show you guys here is how to cook at home, how to cook effectively in a home setting, how to have fun cooking at home, how to make it, you know, cost effective for yourself. Okay, I think my bulgur has soaked up the liquid successfully. Onions are looking great, slowly cooking down. Okay, so everybody, all that we really need to do now is we gotta take these garlic cloves and put them in through the garlic press. And this is gonna be used for the tzatziki today. Right, just 2 little tiny baby garlic cloves. We don't want too much. Take them and smash them down. I'm voting for Daramgar in November. Ugh. I wonder how many votes I could secure that way. All right, take them, smash them down. Beautiful. Love my garlic press. One of the best kitchen tools out there. One of the best kitchen tools in the game. If you don't own a garlic press, you're making a mistake. And then, just as we're done with it, I'm going to go ahead and quickly clean it off. Get them out of here. And get them thrown into the dishwasher before the garlic can dry in the holes. Okay, that's good. That looks great. Let's go back to the onions, my friends. Does garlic grow on trees? Koi, I actually have no idea how garlic even grows. So I would not be able to answer your question. So we're not looking for a significant amount of browning onto the onions. We just want them to be nice and golden, and we want them to be nice and soft, because that way they'll mix into the Mercimek köftesi. I forgot how to say that for a second. So we don't need a lot of color. We don't need a lot of heavy flavor development. So at this stage, we are going to add a few things though. First, we're going to add in a generous amount of black pepper until your heart says to stop, until you feel content with the amount that you added in. But I want a nice aggressive flavor inside of my little lentil meatballs today. Next, we're going to go in with some cumin. I have some pre-ground cumin today instead of whole dried cumin seeds because we have some and I felt like I should use them up before anything else. So we're adding in a generous amount of cumin. And last but not least, my friends, I don't have Aleppo pepper. So instead of Aleppo pepper, I have this ground arbol chili. It's going to provide some heat, it's going to provide some spiciness, and it's going to provide some fruitiness. So while not exactly Aleppo pepper flakes, I think it's still going to be delicious. And we're going to need a little bit more salt as well while we're at it. Add some salt, add it in, and mix it up, my friends. And now you want to fry those spices. You want to infuse those spices into the olive oil. You want to get it nice and fried. You want to get it nice and toasted. And then afterwards, we're going to add in the tomato paste, and we're also going to add in the red hot pepper paste. The red hot pepper paste I'm using today, it's not the exact traditional one that is used in Turkish cuisine, but remember that these sorts of things tend to be quite interchangeable. So, frying up the chili powder, frying up my cumin seeds, as well, just letting that all beautifully infuse into the oil. And then everybody, we're going to go in with the red pepper paste, as well as my tomato paste. How long do you toast the spices for, chef? Dr. Slowbro, the answer is usually in the realm of like a minute or so. So we're going to go in with probably 3 spoonfuls of the pepper paste and mix that on in. Mix that all up, mix that in, because I want it to have some flavor. I want it to be really nice and spicy. Okay. 3 big spoonfuls of that go in, as well as my tomato paste. Come on, I'm trying to get my can of tomato paste opened. It's always such a chore every single time. Yeah, and then a nice big spoonful of my tomato paste goes in. Excellent. So all we gotta do is just mix it up. We gotta mix it up, we gotta let it fry. We wanna cook out the raw flavor of the tomato paste. We wanna cook out the raw flavor of the pepper paste as well, my friends. So get it all in there and mix it up and just let this cook down. Let it cook, let it heat up, let it come up to temperature, and then this is going to be the base flavor of my meatballs today. This is where all of the flavor is, my friends. In the sweet onions, it'll be perfect. So bring it all together, mix it all up, and now just let this cook down. Oh, that is delicious. That is quite excellent, I have to say. I just got a little taste of that. Tomatoey, spicy, peppery, perfect. It has everything that we're looking for. Mix it up though. You don't want to squelch any of your pastes. You don't want to squelch your pepper paste. You don't have to squelch your tomato paste. Mix it all up, my friends. And again, we're just letting this cook for no specific amount of time until we feel like it. That's all. Does anybody have any questions for me at this point in time? Once we're done with this, we'll do a bit of a recap session. I feel like cooking is kind of a waste of time. I get cans of SpaghettiOs for only 89 cents and it's just as good. So, Plinky, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So, cooking is not necessarily just a waste of time, but it could be a waste of time. The answer, well, not the answer, but my question to you is, how much do you actually enjoy food? For me, the reason why I love cooking so much would not be the case had I not liked eating so much. My relationship with eating very much so plays into how much I love cooking and how much I like being able to express that. If you don't innately get a lot of enjoyment out of food, right, then the next question becomes, how much do you care about your physical health and your physical well-being? Right? Which is to say, there's ways that you can cook that can just simply make yourself feel better. That has been something that I've been embracing in real time, right? Or recently, that is, because I've been trying to get a little bit less meat into my diet. I want to have a little bit more protein for like my specific body goals that I have in mind. And so I'm trying to eat things that will be functional towards my goals with what I want food to be able to do for me, right? And so in that case, I have a very specific reason. Okay, there you go. That looks pretty good. We'll just give that a few more minutes. Cooking with intention and love. That's right, Trash Can Cat Mom, you got it. So ultimately, you don't have to find cooking completely enjoyable. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. But I am here to get you guys to fall in love with thinking about food. I'm here to make it accessible. I'm here to make, this all seem really exciting. So Alakis, you said, are the recipes you stream ones you're familiar with? Or do you learn new recipes and then stream to us? So really good question. The answer is neither, because I don't really think about food in terms of recipes. I like to think about food in terms of soul and intention. You need to ask yourself, what is this dish trying to do? What is this dish trying to accomplish? And so I don't particularly follow a recipe strictly. What I like to do is I like to go and get a lot of inspiration from people that do make this dish. Let's say, somebody Turkish making this kind of food, seeing what they do and comparing it to others. And then that way I get a sense of what is the heart and soul of that dish, right? So, point is, my levels of familiarity, the answer is it varies significantly. But I am quite familiar with a lot of the techniques and the concepts going into this, and I have an idea of what the dish is trying to achieve at every step of the way. And so that's what I mean about figuring out what is the soul of a dish. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna say right now, my tomato paste, my pepper paste, my onions, all of it has cooked down effectively. Get a little taste. Tastes tomatoey, tastes a little bit spicy, tastes delicious. We get that earthiness from the cumin as well. And now the only thing that we want to do is just slightly cool this down. I think it's more productive use of time would be to plant trees or to cure cancer. So Plinky, the answer is humans do all sorts of things because it's fun sometimes. Is it the most efficient expenditure of time for us to cook things in a lot of different ways? No, but what we do is we make something mundane a lot more interesting for us, right? For a lot of people, they get a lot of enjoyment out of food. And so that enjoyment is what we're all going after. I'm also here to teach you guys how to save money along the way. I'm here to teach you guys how to not waste produce all at the same time. So I'm not telling you to fall in love with food, Plinky, but what I'm just saying is I'm trying to explain why others do fall in love with food. Okay, everybody, this mixture is too hot for us to mix at this moment in time. It needs to cool down a little bit. It needs to cool down, and it'll be perfect. Also, it's okay, Arrakis. I appreciate the discourse that Plinky is offering, even if it is a little bit contrarian at the moment. But I think it's okay. So, everybody, we have all of this lovely fresh dill that we're going to need to go ahead and process for my different dishes today. Specifically, once again, we will have the dill going into all of the components. It'll be going into the sauce, it'll be going into the meatballs, and it'll be also going into the tzatziki, okay? So, for the sauce, once again, for the spicy green sauce that we're doing, it doesn't need to be particularly minced or anything. All that we're going to go ahead and do is just take the fronds of the dill off the stems. Just pluck them off, pluck them out of here, get them out of here. Just any of the really, really thick stems, my friends, that's what you want to go ahead and get rid of, because it can be a little bit too toothsome, it can be a little bit too woody. So yeah, plinky, ultimately, if you think cooking is a waste of time, that's okay. But the thing that I would challenge you to do is, if you're not trying to eat for enjoyment, it would be to learn how to at least eat the kinds of things that make you physically feel good. I would like it in the future if the government would make nutrition bars that we could eat for every single meal. Well, those things already do kind of exist, right? You have all sorts of meal replacements. You have Soylent, and then you also have like the MREs for soldiers that I know get used sometimes. So, you know, that already kind of exists. Soylent Green is people. It's made out of people, Godzillas. So Arrakis, it's okay. I mean, somebody showed up and you know, they're expressing their concerns, even if it is a little contrary to what we have going on in the vibe here. I think that's okay too. That's all right. We'll figure it out. So I'm not too inclined to just get plinky out of here, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I think for my spicy green sauce that this should be a sufficient amount of dill. Right here, that is a nice aggressive pile of dill. And for this one, we're not gonna need to chop or prep this or do anything else to it. I'm just gonna go ahead and set that onto my bowl, onto my plate. Okay? And then we have to continue plucking all of the fronds off the stems, my friends. Pluck them off, get them out of here. Okay. Okay, now Plinky, I feel like now we're getting into the realm of like some bad faith discussions here and something that is along the lines of bait. I'm not really here to entertain that too much, other than enjoyment of food is not how obesity began as like a public health epidemic. That came from the fact that cheap foods tended to have a lot more sugars added to them. So this feels a little bad faith. I don't think this is a position that you're genuinely trying to argue at the moment. If it is, then please try to convince me that you are doing this in good faith. Otherwise, I find your statement a little bit annoying. So, going in there and plucking the dill, plucking it off, getting it off the stems. That's all we gotta do for now. I'm just going to repeat that. And again, you could leave some of the stems on, but they just tend to be a little bit toothsome. They tend to be a little bit woody. Not exactly the texture that I'm going for with these Mercimek. Okay. So going in there, getting it all plucked. Plucking dill can be a bit of a headache. It can be a bit of a chore sometimes. I'm gonna be the first to admit it. I've been doing this my whole life. We have so much dill growing up as a Russian. I enjoy food so much. I see, Shy Chica. That's right. We're getting there, Iskia, slowly but surely. The last of these components is purely just going to be for us to cut up the dill, and that will get ready to be mixed in. Is everybody still watching? Is everybody still paying attention? I would love to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, from everybody watching, please, and thank you. Excellent. Plucking off the dill, plucking it off, getting them out of here, getting them all gone. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. And we're all set, and we're all good to go. So, about 25% to 33% of this is going to go towards the Mercimek, and then the rest of it is going to be used for the tzatziki. Darla, do you plan on growing your own produce? So Iskia, I keep going back and forth on this. I think at most I'm going to grow my own little herbs and chilies one day, but that's about it. So, I have all of my dough ready to go, all bundled up in my hands, and everybody, same principle as before. We never chop it. We never crush it. No vertical motion. Nice sharp knife, thin slices, 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 just like so. Nice and thin, all the way through. Slice it up, 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 slice it up. Beautiful. And give it a nice little quarter turn. And slice it up nice and thin, my friends. Especially with something like dill, you don't really want these to be too big. I find the texture of them to be really, really unpleasant if you don't mince them finely enough. Give them another quarter turn and slice it up, and slice it up, and slice it up, and slice it up, until we have no massive pieces of dill left over. Okay? I think that that's going to be perfect for my uses today. Once again, I'm grabbing, I could do like maybe half of it for the Mercimek, and then the rest of it will be for the tzatziki. Okay, and grab that bad boy, that's for the tzatziki. Is that lentils in a pan? Not quite, that is just the tomato. So, everybody, we have almost all of the components that we need to make the Mercimek. We have our scallions, we have our dill, we have our basil leaves as well. Not too traditional, again, we're not doing it with the parsley, but it's still going to come out and still gonna be really, really delicious by the end of it. Okay, so, I'm gonna go ahead and tie up my hair. We're gonna mix it all together, and then we're going to give that a nice proper tasting session. So, my lentil mixture with the bulgur wheat, it doesn't look all that exciting at this point. It looks a little bit dry and it looks a little bit crumbly, but that is okay. Everybody, please trust the process. Please say yes, chef. This is my lentils that have been mixed in with the bulgur wheat so that it soaks up all of the excess water for today. You have to trust the process. Although, I am somewhat struggling to get all of this stuff out of the pot and into the bowl without making a mess all over my kitchen. So, please forgive me while I'm still handling this for the moment. Trust the process, my friends. Trust the process. Trust it. It looks all dry now, but I promise you, it's all going to come together. And it's gonna be perfect, and it's gonna be delicious, and it's gonna be wonderful. I don't trust it, Koi, you're making a mistake. You have to trust it. If you don't trust me, then what else can you do? You gotta trust the process. So, graham cracker crumbs, Koi, you're not trusting the process. I am the one that is steering the ship. Cobalt, welcome on in. Trust the damn process. Please, I know this looks dry. It's not going to end up dry. I promise you, the onions and the tomato, it's all gonna hydrate it exactly the way that we need it to, okay? Trust the process. Next, tomato. This is the really, really key part of the Mercimek. My roommate came in to just look at it and then shake her head sideways in disapproval. Vixen, can you please trust the process? I'm so sick of you. Get back in your room. That's enough. Okay. My roommate just flipped off my food. I am sick of you. That's enough. Okay. Salt. We're gonna need some salt in there. We're gonna need a nice generous amount of salt, my friends. Okay, we don't want any bland meatballs. Okay, next, I'm going to go ahead and grab a glove and we are going to knead it and mix it until it all comes together. This is where it all comes together, everybody. It doesn't get cooked past this point. The only thing we need to do now is just mix it all in and mix it up and mix it up and break up those clumps of wheat. And the tomato is actually still really, really hot. So that was not the most pleasant thing for me to get my hands into, I have to say. Just get in there and mix it up and mash it up and get all of that bulgur wheat and all of those lentils mixed up with the tomato. This is where it comes together. It's not dry, okay? If you actually waited and you trusted the process, then it would be perfect. But if you were impatient, then I don't know what to say to you. So Koi, you're new here and you're already a non-believer, you're making a mistake. There you go. There you go. We could put some olive oil in it. We could do that, but it already has some olive oil that came in from the actually frying up the onions. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. But, of course, you can't ever have Turkish food without too much olive oil, right? So we could always do more olive oil. Okay, does this look dry? No, it does not. Nor did it ever actually look dry, my friends. This is my Mercimek köftesi, okay? This does not look dry. Let's give it a little taste. Let's taste it for the seasoning. You see this little clump of wheat and bulgur and lentils. You gotta make sure that it's all broken up, my friends. You don't want any of it in little clicks. You don't want any of it in these dried up little balls. You wanna get all of it nice and properly mixed up and properly kneaded together until it all comes together. It looks quite good, doesn't it? I think so too, Turina. Thank you. Oh. Wait, that is delicious. And it's also gonna get served with the sauce. Whoa, that is yummy. Oh my God. Guys, I am not upset about that. I'm not upset about that at all. That is really delicious. Ooh, excellent. I'm just breaking it up one more time. I'm getting in there. I'm really making sure to work in any of those little clumps that could be remaining. And get all the seasoning nice and evenly distributed. That's one big meatball, chef. That's right. And this is it. This is it. It just gets shaped. It gets put onto the lettuce leaves. And then it's all good to go, my friends. This is why you should have trusted the process. That's right. Trust it, and it all comes out, and it's all perfect and beautiful and delicious by the end of it. Look at that. That is a big lump of flavor, my friends. Let's have another taste. Oh, that is amazing. That is delicious. It is so simple, it is so flavorful, and it is entirely vegan. This mixture right here, my friends, it is entirely vegan. Now the sauce that we do, the yogurt sauce, is of course not going to be vegan, but just as it is, just by itself, at this current stage it is. Okay? So it's accessible, it's basically for anybody, it's flavorful, and it's so pleasant to eat. It is so pleasant, above all else. Now, we will begin making the final platter. Okay? And then while they rest and cool down a little bit, we will be doing the rest of the sauces. Okay? So, plate, lettuce. Really simple. We're gonna make like a little football shape and put it onto the lettuce leaf. And rinse and repeat till we run out of lettuce leaves. How's that sound, everybody? You love me, my cooking. Oh, Rakis, that was a little bit much. That was a lot for a second. Okay? So, all that we're going to go ahead and do is we're gonna put on some gloves once again. And I think having like something to dip my hands in just to unstick anything would be the easiest to do, but that's okay. Lettuce leaf. Right? Lettuce leaf all ready to go, all nice and set. I'm going to grab a nice little mound of this bad boy, make it into that football shape that I was talking about before, and just set them on. And we're just gonna go all the way around till we use up all of it. Grab a nice little mound. And so, with the lettuce leaf, it'll be perfect. It'll be really tasty. I think that one might have been a little bit too small, but that's okay because I'm just going to adjust it based on the size of each lettuce leaf that I have here. This one might be a little bit too big for my purposes, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab that. This is exactly how we do it in Turkey. God, this brings me back. Eskia, well, I'm glad. This is my first time technically making this, so I'm glad that it's all turning out exactly the way that it should be. Never made this before, but I think for my first time, it's going quite well. Okay, and another little guy that we can probably fit into this one. A cult leader-like mentality, Count JP. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here. That's been like the whole appeal of the Daily Cooking Show from the start. I give you guys what you want. That's what the people asked for. Okay, let's grab the next batch of leaves. And I have to say, shaping these, quite enjoyable. I am very much so enjoying the process of shaping these bad boys out. Okay. This one's gonna be a little bit longer, just to roughly fit into the shape of the lettuce leaf. Something like that, probably towards the top, and then stack them over the other way. There we go, excellent. I joined a cult if Dara said I could get some of their cooking. Koi, you're a little too easily swayed. You are too easy to manipulate in this case. That is not a very high standard that you have just set for yourself here. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news in that case. Okay. Next one. What? It's the last box. Nice job, Vixen. We're finally done unpacking the living room. And by we, I mean my roommate did all the work for that. So, not quite we. Okay. Next lettuce leaf. Excellent. There you go. And I'm making them all slightly different sizes just to accommodate the different size lentils that we have going into each one. Okay, next one. There you go. Just piling them all up nice and high. What is my favorite Asian dish to make for myself? So, alakis, I feel like that's a bit of a broad question because if we're talking about like within what is considered this greater umbrella of Asian cuisine, not to just like I'm actually very hard here, but I feel like it's very, very heavily varied in what we're actually like asking here. And so, you know, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable answering this question if we at least generalized it to some more specific regions. Are we talking about South Asian? Are we talking about Southeast Asian? Are we talking about East Asian cuisine? You know, what are we sort of going after here? Okay, there you go. Just piling them all up nice and high, getting them all done, getting them all nice and processed. Okay, there you go, beautiful. How many more do we have left? A good handful, it seems. Okay, bit of a process to be able to get all these bad boys done, but it's all gonna be ultimately worth it at the end of the day. Grab this bad boy. Let's say Japanese or Korean. So, my favorite, I do adore Korean food. I love jjigae. I love jjigae so much. I would die for kimchi jjigae. I think kimchi jjigae, especially with pork belly, incredible. Central Asia, well, when it comes to Central Asian cuisine, guess what? I grew up Russian. We grew up eating a lot of Uzbek food as a result. So, I love, of course, I love plov. I mean, would you also consider Georgian as Central Asian? I would kind of consider Georgian food as Central Asian, right? There you go. Okay, we have a big aggressive pile of all these bad boys. We have a lot. And we've used up an entire head of lettuce to be able to get it going. Chef saw that curveball coming, that's right. Not a lot of people know a lot about Central Asian cuisine. Oh, Georgia's in America, silly? My fault, my bad. Thanks for correcting me on that. Okay, you know, so I think that we are done with the actual lentil meatball portion. I have a little bit of filling left over, so I'm gonna have that as a snack right now, I think. That would be best for me. Guys, these things are delicious. These things are so yummy. They're so dense. They're perfect. And I'm gonna have another little bite. You know? Man, that is good. That is pretty delicious. I love lentils. I love lentils so much. Guys, that is phenomenal. A little sweet from the onions, spicy from the pepper paste, herbaceous, we're getting the basil, we're getting the dill in there, a little crunchy from the scallions and the lettuce leaf. This is perfect. This is literally perfect food. I don't think Dottie likes British food. I think there's quite a few British dishes that I do like. I like black pudding the most because I love blood sausages. So that's definitely up there for me. But there's also not like a lot of like very pronounced cuisine. A lot of British food is staples. A steak and kidney pie is also quite delicious. I think that's quite, quite British. Oh, guys, let me tell you right now, so good. How long does this hold up in the fridge, you would say? 3 days, probably, 2 to 3 days. But the nice part about this is so easy to serve to a crowd of people, right? This is amazing as like a party food. This is amazing as just, I'm gonna have this as my dinner, not necessarily just as an appetizer, but that is pretty phenomenal. I'm very happy about how that came out. So, actually, everybody, one last recap session on this before we finish the sauces. Can I please get a yes, chef, from everybody watching? Please and thank you. So, these are my Mercimek köftesi. Okay, what are these? These are these little Turkish lentil meatballs. They're completely vegan. They have no meat inside of them. Red lentils. We just cooked it in some nice hot water to get it really, really soft and mushy. We added in bulgur wheat. The bulgur wheat soaks up all the extra liquid and keeps it all together. We chopped up an onion. We fried it in plenty of olive oil. We, excuse me. We added in some red pepper paste and some tomato paste, some cumin, some dried chilies. Okay, we cut up some scallions, we added them inside, we added some dill and basil. Basil, not traditional in Turkish food, but it's okay. It's okay for us to not do it 100% traditionally because I had basil and I wanted to use it up before it goes bad. So, basil was subsequently included. So we mixed it all up, we formed it into these lovely little balls, okay, watch it, and we just put them on some lettuce leaves and set them aside. Next up, my friends, you know what we're going to do before we move on? Ooh, I just burped because I ate a massive chunk of lentil. We're going to go ahead and clean up a little bit because everybody, when you cook at home, you absolutely must. It is imperative for you to clean as you go. Put things away, get them out of here, get them out of sight, get them out of mind, clean up your station, and take advantage of this time, my friends, okay? Take advantage of this time. You're not gonna get more later. Right? You have a little bit of momentum. Get up, start moving around, start putting things away that we no longer need. All right? So that's exactly what I am doing in the moment. I have a few dishes that I can easily get rid of as well. Get them out of here, get them out of sight, get them out of mind. Excellent. Okay. Your eyes look nice. Thank you, Koi. I made them myself. So, what do we actually have left for us to do today? Well, we have the two sauces. The first was my tzatziki inspired sauce, and my second was my Zahawig inspired sauce. Zahawig is a Middle Eastern condiment that is made out of tomatoes and dried green chilies, and it's really, really similar to a salsa. Okay, and I wanted something very green, I wanted something very vegetal, and I wanted something really, really spicy to eat the meatballs with. Then, on the second hand, I wanted my tzatziki, my cucumber yogurt sauce, to be able to cool everything down. It's going to add some fat, it's going to add some creaminess, it's going to be really delicious, but it's going to do a really nice job of balancing everything out, and hence was my decision to make that today. So, we're going to go ahead and get my food processor ready for the tzatziki. What we're going to do is we're going to really, really finely grate the cucumber, and then we're going to salt it to take out the excess liquid. Because the grated cucumber by itself is a little bit too wet. It would end up making the tzatziki too bland, and it would end up making it too runny. So we need to grate the cucumber, and I hate grating things by hand. They chicken tenders? Not quite. Also, welcome on in, Concreto. How'd you find the cooking show? I'd love to know. Ooh, that was a little bit of accidental rhyming. So, I cannot stand grating cucumbers or grating any vegetable, especially onions, by hand. When you grate those vegetables by hand, it becomes so laborious, it becomes such a process, okay? And it is completely unnecessary if you have technology and parentheses a food processor with a grater attachment on it. And so, I've never actually used the grater attachment of my food processor, so we're going to find out exactly how well of a job. Excuse me, black pepper, thank you. We're going to find out how well of a job it ends up performing for us today. Okay, so plug in this bad boy in, get him in there, excellent. Next, cucumber. Remember my cucumber? Well, it's time for him to activate. It's time for him to go. So, I believe the way that this works is all that I do is I grab my cucumber, I'm gonna pop them down just like so. I'm gonna be doing half a really large cucumber. Also, Kelan, welcome on in, it's lovely to have you. So, all that I'm gonna do is that it? Is it done? Did it just grate it? Was it that quick? There's no way it was that fast, was it? Oh my God, it was actually that fast. That's it. It's done. That's my Magimix food processor, baby. That is my biggest flex that I've ever owned in a kitchen. Did you see that? Do you know how long and how much effort it takes to grate a cucumber by hand? Do you know how annoying it is? Look at that. Oh, that was perfect. And this is all that was left behind, which is a little bit of skin. Oh, I feel like I've just discovered fire for the first time. That's what I feel like. All right, great. Let's go take a look at it. So, back to this. Pop this bad boy out. Guys, I think that we have perfectly grated up this cucumber. Now, I picked the larger setting, so it's almost given us like these cucumber noodles. But that was pretty remarkable. I am very impressed. That is some perfectly grated cucumber. Wow, that's it. That's all that it takes, guys. That's all the effort that this took. So, if you don't own a food processor, this is a very nice reminder of what they can actually do for you. So, remember, these bad boys are wet. Okay, they are wet, they're soaking wet, and we're going to extract all of that liquid from them that we do not need using the power of salt. Why does salt work? Because salt is hydrophilic. Salt basically is thirsty. It sucks up water out of things. And so through the process of osmosis, it will draw out any of the excess water inside of the cucumbers. I would make insane salads with that processor. Yeah, this Kia, I have realized fully its potential just now. When I saw that, I didn't know how good the grater setting would be, but that was fast and that was easy. That was amazing. Wow. Okay, by the way, I believe it was Catholic Queen that got this for us, that got this for the stream. I gotta update my throne at some point. But shout out to Catholic Queen. Everybody, if you'd like to support the cooking show, if you like what we do here, please, if you have the means, check out my Patreon, !Patreon. Okay, it would go a really, really long way, especially given that Twitch recently increased the cost of a subscription from $5 to $6. I'm not making as much revenue on Twitch anymore, and so the Patreon is the best way to directly support the cooking show for any of you that are able to do so. So, that's not enough salt in the cucumbers. I need a generous, generous amount of salt. Right? Because a lot of that salt is going to end up dissipating, but the goal of it right now is just to purely pull out some of that excess liquid, my friends, out of those cucumbers. Okay, so that's exactly what we're doing. We'll go in there, we'll get another big pinch or two in, half a grated cucumber, and just mix it up, everybody. Mix it up, mix it up, mix it up, mix it up, mix it up. And now we just gotta let that sit for about 10 to 15 minutes or so. We're going to draw out the excess liquid, and then in goes my cucumbers into my tzatziki. Does anybody have any questions for them? For my tzatziki, that is. Or it can be about this dish, it can be about something else. Please never forget that I am here to teach all of you guys how to cook at home, and how to cook at home comfortably, and how to really, really navigate that environment beautifully. Subs are more expensive because of turbo, right? Yeah, it's like $6 a sub now instead of $5. Dali knows what's up. In Turkish, Greek, and Korean cuisines, cucumbers are usually salted and dipped dry. That's right, Askia. In Russian cuisine, though, we never really did much of that. All that we ever did was, you know, just cut it up and eat it with salads. Although Russian people love their cucumbers. Okay, so that's all done. That's all been taken care of. I can go ahead and get rid of this bad boy. And now, my friends, we can go ahead and do the second part of today, which is the green sauce, my spicy green sauce, that I'm gonna go ahead and get ready for us now. Although, I did wanna see, do I have a blender cup that would be able to fit the smaller one so that I don't have to use the bigger chamber? I might be able to, actually, but let's go ahead and verify that in just a moment. I am curious, would I be able to use the smaller container? Can you name one good German meal? Oh, absolutely I can. We made frikadellen not too long ago here, right? Which is like the German like meat patties. A lot of cultures and a lot of cuisines that love having things translated as meatball despite them not even being remotely meatball-like. All right, I gotta get this grater attachment out of here and into my sink probably. Now, will I, Daramgar, be able to make my spicy green sauce without getting another container dirty, is the question. Will I be able to achieve that? Or is that not possible? I guess we'll find out. You fry the balls? Well, not really. What are we talking about, Hidden? Are we talking about for German meatballs? Or are we talking about the lentil meatballs? The lentil meatballs, they're not fried at all. They're just gently like simmered with all the different ingredients and mixed up. And they're all set and ready to go. I have misplaced, my blender blade. There it is. Okay, that is definitely not going to fit. I'm just going to go ahead and use the larger chamber as intended. Okay, and then we're going to begin processing up all the different ingredients for my spicy green sauce, my friends. Okay? So, I have here my big food processor blade. all of it's ready to go. The first thing that we're going to need is the things that we want in the smallest pieces. In my case, that is my jalapenos, okay, and my garlic. I want it to all get really, really finely ground up, and then the tomatoes I want just barely pulsed in, and I want my herbs to go in last. Everybody, the order of operations is super, super important, okay? You don't want to add everything from the get-go. What you want in the smallest pieces, you add first. What you want in the biggest pieces, you add last. I don't want to blend my tomato so that it releases all of its liquid. I don't want to completely destroy my fresh herbs. So the order of operations is really, really essential. So, as for my jalapenos, and as for my garlic, right, these are my most pungent components, these are my spiciest components, I want to get them in with a little bit of salt, and I want them very, very finely ground up inside of my food processor, okay? And the salt is going to really help with the abrasion inside of the device. So, getting that in there, getting that all set up, getting that ready to go, locking it in, excellent. Then I'm just going to go ahead and set it on and let it do its thing, everybody. We just want to get it really, really nicely finely ground up. Then we'll do the scallions, then we'll do the tomato, and the herbs last. So, this guy, just get them all processed, my friends. You want this one in super, super, super small pieces. Really, really small pieces. At some point, it will end up sticking to the sides, and so all you have to go ahead and do is just scrape it back down, if that's the case. Right? Sticking to the side slightly, that's total. Excuse me, I inhaled some straight jalapeno seeds. Ugh. Yeah, lifting that up, not the world's most pleasant experience just now, I have to say. So, that's going, that's great, pulse it. And then we're also going to go ahead and do the juice and the zest of one lemon as well. Although we could do that technically later, I think the liquid from the lemon juice is going to really, really help us out here. So, everybody, let's come back here. Let's come back to the cutting board. Is everybody still watching? I want to hear another yes, chef, please, and thank you. So, lemon zester, right? Little microplane, nice sharp microplane. We want to get all of this delicious aromatic lemon zest inside of the final green sauce, because this is what's going to give us a lot of that really, really delicious lemon flavor. The lemon flavor is not in the juice. Okay, it is not in the juice, it is not in the flesh. The majority of the aroma, the majority of the flavor that we associate and love with lemon is in the zest, my friends. Not the white part of the skin, but the yellow part, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get this bad boy added alongside all of my other ingredients in here. We're gonna do the zest of one lemon. I think that's gonna be plenty. I think that's gonna be nice and aromatic for us today, right? So get that all inside. Beautiful. And then everybody, we're going to do the juice of, we don't know actually how acidic this lemon is at the moment. So we're going to start off with half a lemon's worth of juice. As always, I have my handy dandy little citrus press, right? Flesh side down, never flesh side up. Take it, squish it down, my friends, and pour it all into the blender cup. The food processor cup, that is. Get it in there, get it in there, get it in there. And this is going to really, really help us to get the consistency that we need. It's going to just make everything in there a little bit stickier instead of everything just sort of flying around. So, back to the food processing, my friends. Slap it on, get the job done, get it going. Does anybody have any questions for me about this process? Slap that lid right back on and pulse it. So I think the pulsing at this stage is going to be unsuccessful because, again, it's a very, very wide vessel. So I think now we can go in with our scallions. The scallions are going to be the second finest component, right? And then the tomatoes, and then the herbs will go in last. The order of operations, everybody, it does matter. You don't add them all in at once. I'm not looking for a homogeneous puree. I want these to all have the consistency that they need. So, scallions go in next, and pulse it, and pulse it, and pulse it. And take it and scrape down those sides a little bit, and I think that looks quite good. Okay, that looks good. We're going to go in with my tomatoes now, my 2 plum tomatoes. Add them on in, add them on in, add them on in, and once again, just gently pulse them up, and it's going to begin forming the final texture So once again, this is heavily inspired by a Zahawig. The only difference is we're not using mint. We're just using up my excess basil and my excess dill for this bad boy. Okay, that is gonna be just the right amount of processing. And then everybody, last but not least, my dill and my basil go in. And that's going to give us a nice, bright green finish. So take it and pulse it, and pulse it, and pulse it, and pulse it. We don't want the basil and dill pureed, my friends. We just want it ever so slightly processed. This is such a powerful food processor. So, Godzilla, as you said, I wonder what all these old world cultures ate before the discovery of tomatoes and chilies and potatoes. That's a really good question. And the answer is each cuisine was shaped so differently. Italian food before tomatoes is not like we know it at all. Pasta was still a thing. There was a lot of animal fats. A lot of olive oil still. But the tomatoes, that was a very new addition, and it was very heavily embraced. Russian cuisine has become iconic of using potatoes, but also potatoes were only introduced to Russia in the last 500, 600 years, right? So it's a really good question. And the answer is most peasant cuisines, most cuisines that were of the people and for the poor people, it was oftentimes just a lot of staples. There's a lot of staples, it was a lot of starch products, there's a lot of carbohydrates, and then you'd usually have that alongside some of the vegetables that might be around. So it was a lot more simpler, I think is what I would like to say about it. Not that it was necessarily worse or anything, but it was a lot of a simpler cuisine back then. Okay, everybody, I think that my green sauce is perfect and all ready to go and ready to be done with for today. So I'm gonna go ahead and show that off to you guys one last time. And then we're gonna give it a little taste. We're gonna taste it for acidity. We're gonna taste it for seasonings. So look at this bad boy. Right, look at this. This is basically a Zahawig. This is made out of my jalapenos. Again, you could use any kind of spicy green chili. You could even do it with just bell peppers or just poblanos or something. But in my case, I had some jalapenos, so I used those up. Jalapenos, dill, basil, lemon juice, lemon zest, scallions, okay? So it's really, really tasty. It should be nice and spicy. Let's give this bad boy a little taste. And we want it nice and chunky. This is basically like a raw salsa, right? Give that a little tiny taste. Ooh, that dill comes through beautifully, nice and spicy, heavily spicy, but that will die down as it sits for a little bit. Only thing it needs, a little bit more salt, my friends. A little bit more salt, and then we'll blitz it up one more time. And on second taste, actually, I think that'll be perfect. We'll use the salt, give it another blend, just to get that salt all mixed in there. And mix it back up. Perfect. Everybody, I think that my spicy green sauce is all done for today. Give that bad boy another taste. Aromatic, spicy, salty, acidic, flavorful. It has everything going on in it that you would want out of a sauce like this. That is done. That is all ready to go. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So the question is, where is that going to live? Well, I'm going to have a little condiment bowl. Well, I will scoop some out, and then I'll go ahead and put the rest of it away. Does anybody have any questions for me at this point in time? Because right now, I'm just going to be dedicated to filling up my condiment bowl. So, grab some of that, scoop that in right now just as it is. Ooh, that is delicious. Guys, I love having a food processor. Doing this by hand or doing this in a blender, so much more effort. It was crazy. Blenders don't do this job too well. Ooh, look at this. Look at that sauce. Spicy, delicious, aromatic. Ooh, and that is going to go alongside, of course, this lovely platter of Mercimek. So just moving all that away for a second. And this is, again, this is an appetizer that was traditionally really meant to be mostly eaten cold, right? So this is not supposed to be hot or anything. Just room temperature is fine for something like this. I'm just trying to get them all stacked up and moved away a little bit so I can create some space for the sauce. Okay, that's one. And the last step, guys, is gonna be the tzatziki. But first, I think I should probably put away a few more things. I can wait. I can wait until after the show to do that probably. Okay, so my cucumbers, they've been sitting with the salt for a little bit. You can see how much liquid we have ended up extracting out of the cucumbers, my friends. Okay, so dill, basil, garlic. Next, another half of lemon juice, gonna go right inside. Lemon juice goes in. Excellent, we don't need any zest for the tzatziki. And we're going to go in with a nice little pinch of salt, because even though the cucumbers are gonna be nice and salty, it's not going to be enough for the sauce. So a little bit of salt, just a little tiny bit. Okay, next, look at these cucumbers, guys. Look at how much water we have successfully extracted out of them. That is exactly what we wanted. That is exactly what we're looking for, because we don't want that cucumber water inside of the final product. We're not going to put this through like a cheesecloth or anything, but what we're just going to do is we're going to take a little handful of cucumbers and just slightly, we don't want to completely crush them in our hands. We're just going to go ahead and juice them up slightly. Just get some of that juice, get some of that cucumber water out of here, my friends. Ooh, this is gonna be delicious by the end of it. Guys, are you excited to see the final product? I'm excited to see the final product. Cucumber, almost done. And remember, the water contains most of that salt. So that aggressive amount of seasoning that you saw us add before, it is not going to be a factor moving forward. Okay? So look at all of that water, guys. Look at that aggressive amount of liquid that we have gotten out of Mr. Cucumber, okay? So half a large cucumber, almost done. It's got the lemon juice. It has just about everything in it that we need at this point in time. Last but not least, the one thing that we are missing is, of course, the yogurt. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my Greek yogurt out of the fridge. Now, ideally, you would let a tzatziki sit with the lemon juice for a little bit with the garlic. It helps to kill some of the pungency of the garlic, but I think it's going to be okay. For my uses today, at least. And grab a spoon. And also, this might have been the fastest stream that we've had together in a long time. All right? So, whatever the implication of that is, I guess. Nice. We're going to do a cup of yogurt or so. Full fat Greek yogurt. Add them all in. Oh, my tzatziki, it is not going to be watery at all. And guys, we're just mixing it up. The dill, the basil, the yogurt, the lemon juice, the cucumbers. Mix it all up until it's nice and combined. Get the garlic in there. Look at that. So, is my tzatziki too watery? Is it too runny as Kia? You tell me. Because I don't think that's the case. Have a little taste. Although, definitely might need a little bit more lemon. So how is Greek yogurt different from other kinds of yogurt? So the majority of the yogurt that you would buy in Western supermarkets that aren't Greek yogurt, I believe they're usually blended. They have a couple of emulsifiers added to keep it more stable. And then they're usually flavored with something else. So Greek yogurt usually just implies that it's not really been adulterated. Okay, so there you go. Dill, basil, garlic, yogurt. Little bit more lemon juice. A little bit more for that extra amount of acidity. It has the basil, it has the dill. They're both coming through quite well. And guys, we've successfully used up all of the basil today. That was the goal. I wanted to use up the basil before it went bad, and I think that we have achieved exactly that. Okay, taste that. Now a little bit of acidity, really brighten it up. Gonna do a touch of salt more, and then I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Guys, a tzatziki with basil, quite delicious. It's a very fun variation if you have any around. That's the magic of cooking. That is the magic of fresh herbs. They're all interchangeable in some way or another. It might not be most authentic to the root concept, but it still comes out really, really delicious. Taste that. That's a good tzatziki. That's it. Now, we can go ahead and spoon some of that into this container. And everybody, I think we're done. I think we've achieved everything we've wanted to achieve today. This is my plate. Look at my plate. There she is. That is everything that we just did together. She's all ready to go. She's ready to be eaten. She's ready to be consumed. And I think this one might be worthy of taking a picture, actually. What do you guys think? I think that looks good enough to maybe take a photo. I'll go ahead and grab a picture. You can bring that to a date instead of roses? That's right. Hello to my date. I have lettuce and lentils for you. Although it would make more sense to give that as a gift instead of flowers, wouldn't it? Ooh. That does look quite good, I have to say. I am definitely happy about the way that this came out. Okay, everybody, I think we have done it. I think that we have successfully achieved everything that we needed to achieve today. These are my Turkish lentil meatballs. These are called Mercimek köftesi, something like that. Iskia, please correct me if I was wrong there. And we've made 2 lovely sauces to go with it. Why did I do this dish today? Well, it all started from the fact that I had too much basil. Basil, not at all a traditional component in Turkish cuisine. However, we had some basil leaves, so I wanted to go ahead and use it up. Now, I love lentils. I love eating lentils. I got pigeonholed into eating lentils the same exact way. Okay, well, I was only eating lentil soups. I want to have a little bit less meat in my diet. I want to have a little bit more protein coming in from other places. And so I want to be able to emphasize lentils more. I want to be able to eat lentils more. And thus my mercimek köftesi. So, red lentils, cooked in a little bit of water, added in some bulgur wheat to really bind it all together. Onions, fried beautifully in plenty of olive oil, because you can't have Turkish food without olive oil. Tomato paste and red pepper paste, alongside some dried arbol instead of pul biber, instead of the Aleppo pepper. And we also added in some dried cumin and we cooked it up. We sliced in some dill, we sliced in some scallions, we sliced in some basil as well, and then we mixed it and mashed it and kneaded it all together. We made 2 lovely sauces. First, this is a tzatziki sauce, except we did it with some basil. We grated some cucumbers, we salted it so that we could get all the juice pulled out of it. We mixed it with some lemon juice, some garlic, some basil, dill, and yogurt. Next, we have a sauce that is heavily inspired by Zahawig, which is made from tomatoes, made from green chilies, made from basil, made from dill, and we have some lemon juice and lemon zest, as well as plenty of garlic. So this one is spicy, this one is cool and creamy, and then we have these delicious, really, really delicious köftesi to go with it, my friends. So, cheers. Oh, already one of them fell out of the lettuce leaf. That's totally okay, I guess. Let's grab a lettuce leaf and let's figure out, am I gonna dip it? No, I'm probably gonna have to spoon some sauce in. I don't think this is actually all that dippable. So, mercimek, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of the tzatziki, grab that and put that along one of them. Beautiful. And I'm gonna grab another spoon for my Zahawig, for my spicy green chili sauce. We're gonna get both of them into the same bite. Okay, there you go. Everybody, let's go ahead and have a bite of it all together. Cheers. Mm. 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 Some more tzatziki, please. Thank you. Mm. Yeah, it's good. It's also so light. This feels so good to eat. It is so light. It is so delicious. It was so easy. It was so quick. And it's a very nice way to also serve a crowd. What wine or drink would I pair this with? I mean, Dr. Slowbro, you can't really go wrong with Turkish tea, can you? That or a mint tea. I think a mint tea would be amazing to have alongside all this. But this is light. right? This is light. This feels easy to eat. This feels great. This is amazing. This is exactly what I was going for. Wow. Let's do this with just some tzatziki because I'm a little bit partial to that, I think. Damn. Guys, this by itself, fresh light dinner. Also, giving this to a crowd at a party setting, also pretty ideal. Easy to eat, easy to pick up. This is great. I might actually have it like for lettuce. I might like lettuce. Whoa, I'm okay with that. Did I bake the balls after merging the ingredients? I did not. No, after it's already just been mixed up, it's all ready to go. This is not meant to be eaten hot. So you would have this at room temperature, slightly colder. How long does it take from beginning to end? Well, we did everything from scratch within 2 hours. It was in a stream setting, so it's a little slower too. So, you know, not all that long is the answer. So, everybody, that's going to be it for today. We have a slightly shorter show, all things considered. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already checked out the Patreon, you can type in !Patreon or scroll down and go into the About section. The Patreon is the best way to directly financially support the show. There's a few different tiers for those of you that have the ability to do so, and if not, that's all good too. Everybody, next stream is going to be this Friday, 5 p.m. EDT as always. Every Wednesday, every Friday, every single Sunday, 5 o'clock. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for stopping by. I'm going to see you all this Friday. And until then, take care and be well.